Okay everybody, today I'm putting a starter in the Kia Optima here. This is a 2002 Kia Optima, but this will also work from 2001 to 2006 Kia Optimas, as well as the Hyundai Sonata, which is basically the same car with a different body style, 1999 through 2005. And there's a link in the description to save some money on buying this part, but you can also get it at O'Reilly, AutoZone, Napa, your major auto retailers as well. But link in the description if you want to have it shipped to you via Amazon. Before you do this and buy parts or order parts, I encourage you to check out the diagnosis video for this job. All right, don't just start throwing parts at it. it's a thing that some people do. Make sure you know why your vehicle isn't starting first. So I encourage you to watch that before you do this operation. All right, diagnose, doctor. Step one, 10 millimeter, we removed the battery cable from the this vehicle. Step two, safely jack up your vehicle. Shock block in the back. We got our jack stands. We got our jack. You do not have to remove the fan and all the stuff. It's another guy that does a video that's wrong. You're going to access the starter from underneath here. So jack up the vehicle. I've got a couple jack stands just right there on the frame, and we're gonna get under this vehicle. And something that I learned being a professional mechanic now is to always check the vehicle and make sure before you crawl under it, you give it a good shake, put your weight into it, make sure the jack is still lowered but still supporting the vehicle if it does fall, but make sure your vehicle is not going anywhere before you crawl under it. And this reason here is why I save random large pieces of cardboard. There we go. And you locate your starter motor, which is right here. Got bolts here, and it's right there. We're gonna remove this skid plate, get it out of our way. Looks like 10 millimeters. And to demonstrate that a beginner can do this, I'm using my wife's toolbox that's hangs around the house because all my tools are at work now. So we're gonna use the old Cobalt kit from, I think it was Lowe's we got this from, to remove this starter. Also got my little Harbor Freight drill with an adapter on the end to run sockets. So yeah, 10 millimeter, or and she happens to have it in the toolbox, 10 millimeter. Also, safety glasses are important because if you're laying underneath doing work under a car, odds are dust and muck and sand and stuff will fall inside your eyeballs. Sometimes if you're doing a big job, it's good to have some solo cups, you know, and you can put all your bolts in those so you don't lose them. But here's our skid plate, here's our bolts. Now you can see starter here. Here's the bolt. We're gonna remove the bottom one first. Right here we have another up in here, which is gonna be a little bit difficult, more difficult to get to. It's helpful to have your replacement starter ready so you can see how it bolts up. So you got two bolts. There's not a good video for this, so I'm learning as I go. We're gonna remove the starter. Starting with this bolt here. So to review, step one, safely jacking up the vehicle. Step two, removing the skid plate. Step three, we're gonna take out the old starter. Okay, here's another angle. So here's our first bolt. And before we get too carried away, this starter comes with a heat shield, and it has 10 millimeter bolts There's one here, another one here. We're gonna remove those to start. This is an extension, by the way, and it has like a thing here so you can kind of use it like a screwdriver. Once you get the bolts loose, you can easily remove them. All right, so we got those two out, and sometimes a flashlight helps. Using the light from my iPhone, it's right there. This one here. Out. All right, and it's right here. And if yours does not have a heat shield, either there was a lazy mechanic or a lazy person at the factory, I don't know, but I think this heat shield is pretty important because this is your exhaust, and this exhaust pipe gets real hot. So having a heat shield around this thing is a pretty dang good idea. You're gonna need access to the wires behind your starter on the solenoid up there, so it's gonna be a good idea to get this out of the way. Just make sure you don't mess up your O2 sensor here. Finagle it up and over if we can. You don't always have to remove it. Just get it up out of your way so you can remove those bolts. Maybe we can hang it up on the, get it to tweak it a little bit. Get it up on this part of the exhaust and boom, nice. That way we have access to the nuts right there that hold the wires on. Okay, so we're gonna remove the wires up there. I can show you on here. This is the new starter, and we have a cover. It looks like over the positive so it doesn't arc out, and that should just be able to pull that off. Yeah, it's like a flap on it. It just pops right off of there like that. And I'm not gonna be able to film this part because there's no room, but it appears to be 12 millimeters. Hold on. I'm gonna use this to loosen that up. If I can get it in there. All right, there's our nut next to that one. And finagle our starter out after we get the wire off, of course, because that's going to hold it in there. Okay. Kind of back off the wire. This wire's off. And that wire's off. And pull it out. And removed starter. Boom. Old starter is removed. So maybe when I link in the description to the starter, I saw some that had the stud in them. I think they were a little more expensive, but I'm gonna have to remove this stud and put it in the new one. All right, I'm sure there's a much more professional way of doing this, but I'm just gonna use the old-fashioned vice grip here. See if I can't knock this thing loose. Screw this other nut all the way down and undo this, because that's the wrong way. I'm just screwing this thing in farther. Maybe hit it with some penetrating oil, but yeah. All right, so yeah, I drove this in. Oh, there it goes, yes. We got it. Vice grip worked. All right. Now we just need to twist it out of there, put it in the new one. And installing the pin in the new starter. It's right here. It's right here. Nice. Voila. 14 millimeter. Bring it on home. All right, here's something I discovered is this guy comes off. So this whole piece comes off if you don't have a heat shield maybe, or if your heat shield's smaller, I don't know. But that's good to know. So the next thing we're gonna do is slide this starter into place. And as you can see, there's our flywheel, and that's where we spin the motor. That's where that starter engages and spins that motor to start the engine. We're gonna put this starter in that hole right after these messages. Wires, I'm gonna move this out of the way a little bit and finagle the heat shield. So I want this inside the heat shield, but at the same time, I want the starter in there too, and I want it to line up with that top bolt hole. All right, so we're gonna do that next. As you can see, I was able to slide it into the heat shield like that. And now, camera in hand, boom. Look at that. It just slid right in there, even though I chawed it up with a vice grip. So yeah, putting there. Try and thread that sucker on there. Like that. Just thread it enough to hold it in place so it's not going anywhere as we hook up the wires in the front. Right, so yeah, filming this and using my iPhone as a flashlight. If you remember, we have this one. Looks like it's just coated in oil. It's probably why it went bad from my valve cover leakage. See, that one goes on the outside. So what I did was I accessed it from the back over here, and I used this guy to reach it. That was a little easier. But the rubber stopper over the top of that one, it's got its on there. There's just this one here. And then we're going to bolting it down, and then we'll put the heat shield on. But first, probably want to pull this down, kind of get it in place like that, and then we're going to bolt that down. Rear nut on the skid plate right there. Oh, I dropped it. Again, nut on the skid plate. Installing the skid plate. And last bolt in the heat shield. And then our skid plate. Yeah, it goes like that. Yeah. See? And that puppy back on. Put in a... All right, and here we are. Oh, she starts right up. Look at that. Sounds horrible, but she at least starts up. That was the problem. Starter motor needed a starter motor. That right there, my friends, is the sound of a starting Kia. properly diagnosed and replaced starter. Hey, you changed a starter. Good for you. Call a friend and gloat. Don't forget to subscribe, and why not watch another video? Stick around!